Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. And another one. Let's rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and the girls, welcome to the Reissue. My name is Zach. I'm joined by the Ben Thomas Show and Marco G. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Good, man. Good. Just got off Let's Get Nuts over on the Ben Thomas Show. So double nut feature of the day. And of course,
doubled down on it.
the deepness we're going to go into today is epic. So I am ready for it. I got my rum and Coke poured, Canadian style. We are good to go.
I like that cup.
Thank you. Yeah,
I like that
nice.
cup. Is that a peanut butter jar?
No, it's like a pickle jar maybe at some point.
Oh, I
Holy
like
cow,
that.
that is
No,
a
it's a
lot
triple
of
shot.
rum.
That's a
and
lot of
Coke,
rum
as you
and
would
Coke.
say.
That's
It's going to get
that's
exciting.
a double
It's
nut,
gonna
a
get-
double rum.
We're talking Star Trek. We're talking Batman. There's a lot of good stuff here. So yeah, I'm ready for it.
So Bob Dylan, StreamYard opened up this thing like 2 weeks ago. You can stream it on multiple channels, so it should be on Marco's channel also. But it just makes it easier because afterwards we would upload it anyways to the other channels. But yeah, let's get into the show today. So the Oxfather focus. This is gonna be a short show. There has been a lot of nut happenings today, and I think I'm nutted out at the moment. It's been a long. I didn't go to sleep
Drained
for like
at this
5.
point, but-
Yeah, my nuts are drained, bro. Zach's Wonderland. So I think since the last time that we all got together on the Reissue, I started another company, and this is a 3D printing company, and it's gone very well. So initially, I had started a few months ago doing like small batch runs of Lord of the Rings stuff, Star Wars stuff, whatever. I had a little chat there for that, and it went pretty well. Kind of made some friends, made some of the Patreons, mostly Patreon members, and eventually it got to the point where it was hard to pick one thing that everyone wanted or that most of everyone wanted. And I started getting messages like, hey, can you print this? Can you print that? Can you print this? And so I decided to make a different chat that wasn't specifically tailored to Lord of the Rings. And we called it Zach's Wonderland. It's a little bit of a joke. I think actually Ben was the one that invented the name. So Ben, thank you for that.
The idea guy.
The idea guy. It's blossomed. It's absolutely blossomed. And it's gone from printing other files that I've purchased that we're able to print, designing my own files, and so it's really grown quite a bit. This is the current project that I'm working on that a lot of people are really interested in. It is a display stand for 1/12. I can also scale it down for 3 3/4, and I think if I split them up, I don't know if the price would be right, but I may be able to also print them in 1/6 scale, especially for those that have module cases or those that have garage shelving where, garage shelf, it's like something like 15, 16 inches plus, 20 inches plus per shelf, where you could add, different layers to these figures, to maximize your vertical space. So I've been working on this a lot. I think I've had like 10 orders for different sizes of these stands. So slowly making my way through those. I only have one printer, but it's been pretty much printing nonstop. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. So if you need any of these, let me know. But yeah, this is the project that Dean and I have been working on for a week, and I'm super proud of it at the moment.
Zach's Wonderland going crazy right now. I just received a special package. This display base that you did for me, though, so beautiful. The Nightmare Batman will be going on this when he sees that Omega sign. So yeah, thank you again for doing all these custom jobs, and yeah, everything you've been doing is
I didn't know
awesome.
I just had to send you a rock in the mail to become better friends, but
Wow.
I would have gone outside.
That's a custom
Found a
rock.
good one for
Rocks.
you.
So did you get a
the window,
chance?
all right?
Did you get a chance to mess with the cowl yet? Like posing it up with it?
No, so I haven't been able to touch anything. Like my room is an absolute nightmare right now. If I could show
Yeah.
you, I've got Joker bits and
Wow.
Zach's Wonderland parts all over
Thousands of
here.
dollars.
So yeah, thousands of dollars just like thrown on the floor like they're like I'm a child. But yeah, this week I will definitely be tuning
Hell
everything
yeah.
to perfection. So that
Fantastic.
cowl, just really quickly, the cowl that Zach speaks of is here for the Dark Knight, and this turned out beautifully, honestly. So this is the empty cowl. If you recall, the DX19 does not come with one of these, but yeah, it is really badass. So I will be posing my Bruce Wayne or my Batman holding this cowl. So yeah.
There you
Very,
go.
very
That Wolverine down
this.
in the bottom right corner, by the way. Sorry, I know that's not what you're showing, but that's the first
Yeah.
I've seen it in your display. That looks real good. But
I didn't realize that he had metal claws. Like, what a beautiful figure.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been a good week for me, honestly.
Fantastic. Yeah. So if you guys want any Zach's Wonderland products, Zach's Wonderland on Instagram or message me on Facebook. If you don't have any of those, you can email me, Zach@collectingweekly.com. But yeah, it's been going pretty well. And the other thing I want to talk about as the Oxfather Focus. So we do streaming a lot, and a lot of streaming, there is a lot of work that is, I wouldn't say it's busy work, but it's just stuff that anyone could do, but to do it consistently takes time, and it's kind of annoying. And so we've been on Collecting Weekly, and I know Ben has been using it as well, and I've been talking to Marco about it as well, using ChatGPT or similar apps to kind of make our content production a bit more efficient. And so for me, one of the things that I've always struggled with on CW is tags and hashtags, and even on Instagram as well. And it's difficult because the way that a lot of the different tag generators work online, when you paste them into YouTube for the tag section, and I know probably means nothing to almost everyone listening, it won't do it right, and it just leaves you with a wall, like a hashtag that's like 500 characters long. And so today I was like, well, why don't we try letting ChatGPT write our tags for the show? And it, I could specify that each item is separated by a comma, and bam, copy paste, every tag worked perfectly. And it's just a nice little thing that just takes one small thing off my plate. Now, in other examples, if you watch the hot seat, a lot of our trivia recently has been ChatGPT generated, which has been really nice for me because that's also something that I struggle with sometimes on Tuesdays. I know I was talking to John from Collectors Club, and he does Jeopardy every week, like a full, the 5 rows or whatever they call it, columns, I guess. And so I was like, hey man, like this might help you as well. I don't know if you want to use it. And I got him, showed him how to use it. I'm not sure if he did adopt it for Friday, but for him, that's, 1 or 2 hours of time that is now off his plate, which is fantastic. So if you're someone that is in content creation or, even just for your daily life, you can really take advantage of this stuff, and it's really powerful. Ben, you wrote a beautiful story on ChatGPT while I've been talking. Do you want to read what you've written here for us, or what your robot has written?
I do.
I haven't heard this story yet, so this is gonna be new to me.
Okay, so it's in relation to our Batman subject today. So I asked ChatGPT to write me a 200-word story on Zach from Collecting Weekly becoming Batman. So let's get into it. Zach was just an ordinary collector of comics, toys, and other memorabilia. He lived a relatively mundane life in his small apartment in the city and spent most of his time scouring garage sales and flea markets for the next great addition to his collection. But one day, while browsing through a local antique shop, something caught his eye. It was an old, battered Batman costume, complete with a cape, cowl, and utility belt. On a whim, Zach decided to purchase the costume and take it home. Sounds like something you might do, honestly.
That's true.
As he put on the costume and looked at himself in the mirror, Zach suddenly felt a rush of power and confidence. He began to practice his moves, watching old episodes of Batman TV show to perfect his fighting style and techniques. Soon, Zach began to see the world differently. He noticed criminal activity and injustice all around him and felt a strong urge to do something about it. Armed with his Batman costume.
This is so ridiculous.
I love it.
Armed. Oh, whatever. Soon Zach began to see the.
You can't even finish it.
Sorry.
It's the most I've ever seen Ben laugh. It only took an AI to make Ben fucking
Bob
crack
Dylan
up.
and another to an erotic novel written by AI. Ninja Squirrel says AI is upon us, kind of just listening. It is, but you got to take advantage of it.
Soon, Zack began to see the world differently. He noticed criminal activity and injustice all around him and felt a strong urge to do something about it. Armed with his Batman costume, he set out to rid the city of crime and become the hero he had always admired. As he patrolled the dark alleys and streets, Zack felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. He knew that he was making a difference in the world, and his obsession with collecting had led him down a path he could never have imagined.
Beautiful.
God,
Zack may have started out as a collector, but he had become something much more. He was now Batman.
oh my
Love
God.
it. I love it.
Ben has been smoking that good.
Oh
good
my
right now.
God,
This
that's
is-
hilarious.
He had the double rum and coke.
I can just picture you rummaging through the garbage and finding a Batman costume and then becoming Batman.
It's a
Oh my
realistic
God.
story, honestly.
It's the rum. It's the rum.
There you go. Yeah, so it's a powerful tool. I think if you're in content creation, I think if you're not using it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Bob Dylan says, by day, Zach is a Playboy billionaire as CEO of ZW Inc. There you go. So Ben, let's again, probably a short show today. Let's move forward. The Tough Nut Trek news. I'll let you get over the slides here, and you'll take over for me.
Sounds good. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Slideshow. There we go. Okay, cool. So, Tough Trek news. How do I go back? Shit. Sorry.
Scroll up.
Scroll up. Oh, God.
Other up. There you go.
That's down.
Wow.
Tough Trek news. Okay, guys. So, Exo6 has not been giving us a whole lot to talk about lately. But as you guys know, for me, I do get excited about the Exo6 line. And for Star Trek Voyager specifically, I've always been a huge fan of Voyager. So this is probably the most complete line we've seen so far from Exo6 as a 6-scale kind of offering. Now, some of these haven't been released yet. So we know in this picture here, we're seeing B'Elanna Torres, Tom Paris, specifically, that have not been solicited yet. I don't think that Tom Paris honestly looks like Tom Paris, which is unfortunate. Harry Kim is the most recent version that we've had a chance to see. But the reason I wanted to share this post with you guys was Exo6 has teased the fact that we may actually get a drop, like a backdrop from Star Trek Voyager itself, from the bridge. And I thought that was kind of cool because, like, to be honest, if you're going to go down the line of collecting Star Trek bridge crews, I would love to see a Star Trek The Next Generation bridge at some point made in terms of a backdrop. Now, you guys squashed this excitement for me a little bit last week because I thought this looked like it was more of like a 3D actual setup. And then Zach was like, no, it's probably just a picture of the bridge printed on some laminated card and call it a day, which it actually probably is. So that's not been confirmed. This is just a tease at this point. But if we do get some backgrounds that look at this realistic, I think that that could be pretty cool. I know some folks out there in the community end up collecting these themselves. But one thing that I wanted to bring up was the quality of Exo6 recently being on such like a roller coaster. Because on the left hand, you see a solicited kind of teased picture of Neelix from Star Trek Voyager. And you can see that the paint apps there are really good. It looks just like Ethan Phillips or Neelix from the show. But then on the right hand side, you see the Harry Kim, which is from exactly the same show. And he looks like he's been sculpted from butter or clay. Like he looks like something from Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. Like it just isn't firing on all cylinders. Now, obviously, this
Can I
Neelix...
ask a casual question here? What might you attribute this to? Is this just the paint applications being very soft, Zach, or you think it's a combination of soft sculpt and soft paint apps?
Probably both. Yeah, probably both. And the lighting doesn't help either, I think.
Sorry to cut you off, Ben.
No, it's good. It's been an issue I've had because I've got the first contact data in hand, for example, and that is a really great figure. There's been some other offerings from Exo6 that have been really good, but for whatever reason, the Star Trek Voyager line just seems kind of like lukewarm across the board, and it's as though they're rushing to get their figures out. So it was surprising to me when I saw this Neelix teased and saw just the detail work, like the level of work that goes into the paint and like the texturing on his skin and some of his patterning. But can you imagine seeing these two characters side by side in your collection? Like, one would look super waxy and the other one might actually look really good. It's such a division of quality that it's getting to the point now where I'm seeing Exo-6 collectors kind of start pulling out, or Star Trek people in general saying, like, we're not going to buy this anymore because the quality is too vast. Because the next slide I have are these folks. So Picard Season 3 just finished. And I would say that the collective kind of consensus of the season was it felt like Next Generation Season 8. You know, we only ever got 7 seasons of the show. If there was a Season 8, this would have been it. It was a perfect send-off for the cast of the Next Generation and the folks who just made it kind of a magical series to watch, right? And for me, it was a huge childhood staple. These are Exo-6 solicitations, and the paint apps here look phenomenal. So why, for example, is the Vatic on the far right side so good, and yet this Harry Kim is so fucking waxy? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I kind of wanted to hear from you guys because, you know, again, this is the Tough Nut Trek news, and the Tough Nut side of this for me is quality. How can I possibly justify continuing to buy Exo-6 figures if I really don't truly know what I'm going to get at the end of the day, or if I'm going to have certain figures paired with lackluster options in the same display? It just doesn't sit right with me. What do you think, Marco, when it comes to like these that you're seeing in front of you here versus this? And is it just that we have multiple artists on the same team and that's kind of just what we get? Or is it a quantity versus quality approach that Exo-6 is taking?
So 2 questions. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. I have a question on the far right character. Is that Mads Mikkelsen?
No, it's Amanda Plummer. The same lady who is in Pulp Fiction at the beginning in the diner scene.
Okay, got it. All right.
Same actress,
So
yeah.
that one looks very lifelike, but I don't know necessarily what I'm looking at. I will attribute that to being a very dark photo. So, and also me not being familiar with the property. So that one looks great. The Ferengi is a Ferengi, right? In the middle. Klingon. Total casual here. The Klingon in the middle. That one looks a little bit closer to the Harry Kim to me, where it doesn't look quite lifelike, but the Picard, that's killer right there. That is something that I would consider adding, honestly, because obviously a legendary actor and character. So yeah, I think it is tough that the variation in quality is kind of all over the place. Do the solicitation photos normally line up pretty well with the finals though?
Surprisingly, yeah. And honestly, it's at the point where I'm almost surprised how close they actually are, which is a good thing for the ones that are really good releases, and a terrible thing for the releases that are like solicited as kind of waxy.
Absolutely. So I would say that if that's the case, that you kind of know what you're getting, then yeah, why not just like be comfortable selecting or purchasing the ones that you really, you know, enjoy the solicitation photos of. And if you don't really quite if it doesn't resonate, then just pass on whatever you see. I know that's tough for folks that like to collect the full line, but I think that, you know, this Picard here is strong enough that it gives you a reason to keep collecting Exo-6. How about you, Zach? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I said this on the on Ben's show a few minutes ago, but yeah, I think the quality difference is tough. You know, when you look at the guy with the blonde hair, like, I mean, that looks, you know, about as good as like what I really think it should look like. I think, you know, outside of a few small nitpicks that we talked about on the last show, like, I think that looks fantastic. And then you look at the Harry Kim, and I mean, I don't want to say it's like a Barbie-esque sculpt, but it's just, it doesn't have the same like oomph factor for me. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think on the shelf, I think you would notice like the difference in quality. So,
what
yeah,
do you guys think
agree.
though? Like with Star Trek, like, so obviously there's a ton of Star Wars options in 6 scale. QMX was the last company that really made Star Trek figures, and honestly, since then we've been kind of starved as a collector community of Star Trek releases. So I see a lot of people kind of kissing the toes of Nanjin, the developer of Exo-6, being like, wow, these all look so amazing, when like they don't really. But on the other hand, I cannot think of another company really ever that will ever give us another Harry Kim. Like, this is probably it. Like, he's a deep enough dive that like we probably won't see that again. So should we be happy with the lackluster quality just because we get one, or should Star Trek community members still be like, sorry, it's still like not good enough? I'd be willing to pay $30 or $40 and more for these figures if they all looked like the Neelix on the left.
Yeah.
But because they don't, it's, to me, I'm like, it kind of makes me want to pull out of Exo-6 entirely, except for the fact that I'm excited for the Next Generation bridge, and there's a lot of characters that can come from the Next Generation line, so if they all look like the Harry Kim on the right side, I'm out. Even though I'm such a huge Star Trek fan. So as collectors, should we be okay with this quality because this is the only company making them, so you buy it or don't? It feels like the developer holds us hostage a little bit when it comes to them.
Yeah, I think it's tough because Nanjim hasn't. I don't think that he takes criticism particularly well.
He doesn't.
And so I think in some ways, I think as fans, we absolutely can be hypercritical or overly critical. And I know that's a complaint a lot of times of what we do. But I think at the same time, you do have to like sometimes take that criticism, right? Like, and I'm not necessarily the best at taking criticism either, but I think the blanket, like, you know, we march to the beat of our own drum and this is how we're going to do it. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. Especially from the retailer, I think that's turned a lot of people off. I've seen a lot of people leave the group and, you know, say they've not wanted to collect because of that. So yeah, no, I think you're totally right, Ben.
Yeah, honestly, and I know Nanjing came from the QMX team, and so I think when he first got started, and he put a lot of promises out there, a lot of excitement out there. As I said, as Star Trek collectors, we've been so starved for so long. But there are some here that just aren't great. And how shitty would it be for a completionist collector? You get halfway through a bridge crew, and then there's some quantity versus quality offerings that start popping up, and then suddenly even your bridge crew doesn't look like they all match each other. Like, that just does not feel good. And so yeah, that's kind of the tough nut Trek news today, guys. But I'd love to hear from the chat as well. Are you guys Exo-6 collectors? Are you interested in some of these lines? Why do you think there's such a division in quality when it comes to the Exo-6 offerings? We'd love to hear from you guys down below for sure.
Definitely.
I'll let you share once again there, Zach.
Oh, I was like, you can. So Marco, you have the 1/6 fix, and tell us what you want to talk about today.
Yeah, so I want to talk really quickly about these Jordan 1 across the Spider-Verse Spider-Man shoes that are dropping, basically. So these are dropping on May 20th for $200. So these prices of the Jordans have gone up pretty significantly. That's kind of why I'm out of the shoe game. There was a stealth drop already, so I think they've been doing that more and more on the sneakers app. People will like get a notification for an early release, and then you can kind of get your hands on it early. And if you miss that, then there's going to be a wider release later down the line. So this is one that I haven't decided whether I want to go for or not. I think it looks pretty cool though. It's interesting. I'm sure the box art is going to be incredible for Across the Spider-Verse. And so yeah, I haven't really purchased Jordans in a while, but because it kind of has that crossover appeal, I'm really, really contemplating it. How about you guys? Do you have any thoughts on this one?
I like them a lot. So I'm not that into shoes. I have like 2 pairs of shoes, so this is a bit out there for me.
Inside shoes and outside shoes.
Sandals and shoes, yeah,
There you go.
I like these. I wish they leaned into it a bit further. I know with the first movie they had like the Icy Souls version for the movie special edition. I felt like they could have leaned into this a bit more. I do like them, don't get me wrong, but I feel like more of that, I don't know what they call it, but like that dot texture I think would have been nice.
Yeah. I kind of had that same thought, Zach, where it's like it almost needs to carry through the shoe a bit more on this.
Yeah. I don't know. So what? I'm sorry if you said this. What was the price on this one?
Yeah, so these are $200. I think the Jordans nowadays are like between $220. So like that's just the inflated price at this point. So May 20th on these, and I don't know how hard they're going to get. I cannot speak today. I don't know how hard they are going to be to get. On the sneakers app, I think a lot of releases recently have been pretty tough. I think I've tried for one other pair of shoes, and they sold out right away. So because it's a Spider-Man release, maybe they made 1 billion of them, and they're going to be pretty simple to get. But I would say if you really want them, if you're really considering, make sure you're on the sneakers app. And that's the Nike sneakers app. You downloaded all your information, your credit card information. You've got your size in there, and then when it drops at the exact time, you just hit this purchase button, and that's probably going to be your best bet to get these. So,
Sorry, where did you say you buy these?
yeah, so Nike has their own app. You're going to be able to get them, I'm sure, across a bunch of retailers, but buying directly from Nike normally is the best way. And so their app is called Sneakers, and I think it's SNKRS. Yeah, so the Sneakers app, and then again, it's a pretty easy app to use. You can put in all the information beforehand. So day of, you just click one button and you just go to buy them. So yeah, I think I may be trying for them. Let's see what Gigi has to say about it. I haven't discussed this with her yet. It's been an expensive week, and it's her birthday this week, so maybe not. But these are pretty cool.
Are you guys going away or doing anything for the birthday?
No, because she basically has one final week of her old job. She'll be starting a new job, and then next week she starts bar prep. So not quite a getaway just yet. After the bar, we'll be able to get away.
When you say bar prep, you mean law bar as opposed to
a law bar. Yeah, exactly.
The drinking bar.
No, not that bar.
Yeah.
I will be there though.
These are cool. I definitely like them. I have an addictive personality, just in general. So all it takes for me is to buy one of something, and then I want them all. And I'm already so deep in 6 scale, like it hurts my soul. So I cannot justify buying these, but I think they are cool. I like that they've given us a Spider-Man, across the Spider-Verse version. I mean, I can see these absolutely being collectible down the line, especially like the new pristine in box, never worn options, because like you said, they'll probably make quite a few of them, but a lot of people do wear them, right? As opposed to just necessarily displaying them.
That's kind of where the one to rock, one to stock saying comes from, right?
Do you have any part of your collection room where you have shoes on display?
None on display. I've kind of aspired to have some of my Jordan 11s on display, but they're all just here in the closet. So
gotcha.
Yeah, nothing on display, and they just get pulled out every now and then to get admired.
If you get the green light to get the garage space, I think you're working on that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a wall. You got to have a wall.
I think you're right. Yeah,
display. That'd be badass.
Maybe some statues, maybe some Jordans.
I'd sign up for that collection tour.
All right, heck yeah.
So,
Appreciate it.
But no, these are cool. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So Moose Dream says, I'm 61 and still learning. What is Chat GPT for? So Chat GPT, I mean, it's all kinds of things. It can be, you just want to chat with an AI. You want to have it tell you jokes or whatever. But a lot of people are using it for productivity things. I've seen people that have websites use it to reskew their entire website, which, you might be paying someone hundreds of dollars to do that. Basically, like anything that you think you could do, like within the confines of your computer and your browser. It's not like a Siri or an Alexa where you tell it to do something and it does something in your home, but generate me 20 questions, question and answer trivia questions for a Jeopardy style game. Boom, it'll generate you 20 style questions. You can set parameters. It's hard to really say what is it for, because it's really like as limited as what you think it could be. So it's a website. There's also apps that you can use on like iPhone. The one that I use on iPhone, I went through a bunch, but the one that I actually really liked is called AI Chat. It's a green with white text app, but I mean, like, Ben, give me a prompt and I'll show you guys how Chat GPT works.
Write a story about why.
Okay, what is with you and stories?
I know.
I like stories. You said
Jesus.
How about something
Can you
simple?
speak English?
Tell us why Marco's beard is styled so well.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, tell us why Marco's beard is styled so well. So also, this is an example here. Creative ideas for 10-year-old's birthday party. How to make an HTTP request in JavaScript. You can allow it to provide corrections. You can You could just do a ton of things. So
I
let's
just like
see.
bedtime
Zach,
stories,
that's where the crazy time savings
doesn't
is
have-
coming for
doesn't have-
programmers.
Marco's doesn't know who Marco is, so
How
hate
dare
to
they
see
not
it.
know who Marco?
Wow.
Just no other
Okay,
information.
well, give me-
You
someone
can
give me
tell you
another
haven't
prompt,
hit the
'cause-
algorithm.
someone give me a better prompt than
Okay, tell us 10 Hot Toys subjects to talk about on live stream.
Nice.
10 subjects about Hot Toys collectibles that we can talk about. Here we go. So as it begins writing those. So Hot Toys company history and philosophy, popular Hot Toys collections such as Star Wars, Marvel, and DC, the design and production of Hot Toys figures, differences between Hot Toys and other collectible manufacturers, the collectible market for Hot Toys and how to buy and sell them, displaying Hot Toys figures and building collections, Hot Toys customizing and modding, figure accessories and diorama sets, collaboration between Hot Toys and other companies or artists, and the future of Hot Toys and new releases. So
Pretty good.
yeah, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. It's pretty impressive.
So what I was saying was some of the time savings that I'm hearing programmers like get out of AI, like things that used to take them a very long time. That's the scary stuff right there, where you're starting to automate a lot of programming, and that could, lead to really crazy advances. So the technology is just beginning, and it's pretty insane.
Even
So
for my job in sales, we have it write emails occasionally, like customer service style emails back to people.
Do you speak English? Like, how do they?
That's why they don't let me do it. It's gone through sensitivity training.
That's right. What were you gonna say, Zach?
So Equan wanted me to do a medical thing, but it's prohibited from giving you medical advice. Obviously, like if someone dies because of what AI told them, probably not a good idea. 12-inch Moose Stream says, I think I downloaded that one. Is it worth the money? So AI chat does not cost money. So if you have an iPhone, send me a message on Facebook and I'll send you the link to the app.
The one that I use,
think
you
you're
have to
on
watch. You have to watch the occasional ad.
No,
You
the one
run
that I
it at
have
freeze.
on iPhone, there's no number of
ads,
prompts.
nothing.
There's no ads.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Cool. It's
Anyways,
fun. It's fun to kill time with, honestly. If anything, like as I said, I've made myself laugh a bunch of times about some bedtime stories of the boys here and stuff, and it's fun. But it worries
Ben,
me
do you
that it's
wanna-
going to take over the world.
Bring back up your slides for the reissue roundup.
No, I closed them.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been a nice show.
I didn't think you'd-
Everyone have a good
didn't
night.
think you'd need
Nice
me
and smooth
anymore.
right now.
There you go.
Oh man, you gave him one rum and cork, and he goes.
There's
goes
3
wild.
rum and cokes in that glass. Let's be honest here. Okay,
Wow, yeah, that's a massive glass.
There you go.
it's okay. It's long in the day. We're on Sunday stream. Here we go. We're good. Give me one second.
There we go. Here we go. We're populating.
We're gonna have to reissue this stream. I think it's it's been good, but it could be better.
I'm just happy people are here watching with us, hanging out on a Sunday. You love to see it. Okay, cool.
There we go.
Give me 1 second here. Slideshow of that bad boy. Cool.
Yeah, Moose Dream, send me a message and I'll send you the link.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, we were going to talk about Hot Toys, just in general, when it comes to the Dark Knight lineup on the main show over on Collecting Weekly on the Tuesday night. But after I put together a bunch of slides, we started to kind of realize that this might be a better reissue deep dive, because there have been a ton of releases under the Dark Knight lineup that I think are worthy of kind of noting. Maybe you guys aren't aware of what's out there. But I think the other reason that I wanted to talk about it today with you guys is seeing really what we think we may still get a 2.0 of, or even maybe a 3.0 of. Should we buy backwards if you're huge Dark Knight fans, or should you stick to kind of what's available right now and wait to see what's coming? I think there's a lot of good questions there. So under the reissue roundup here, of course, you either die a grail or live long enough to see yourself become a reissue. And it's absolutely the case when it comes to this. So before we get started and deep diving, do you guys have any questions here with regards to what we're looking at? Zach and
I'm
Zach
excited.
Marco.
No,
I
I'm
love
looking forward to.
the little meme that you've made here.
The little meme. Did you make this? I don't think I made this.
I think I
I
pulled this
didn't.
off of Facebook and have not credited whoever made this, like I've done a few times. So I need to start
Bob
writing down
Dylan
where
says,
I
"Oh
got
my
this.
God, somebody saved the meme." It's probably Bob Dylan.
It might have been Bob Dylan. So in that case, I would have insulted Bob Dylan this weekend. Oh my gosh, yeah. Anyways, let's get down to it.
Too many. So first of all, we have the MMS DX01, the Joker. So this guy obviously, has not aged as well as maybe some folks want. I know guys out there, I think it was even Shane from One Six Figure Focus, if I'm not mistaken, had this guy at one point. And either way, this is an old figure at this point, right? I think the interesting thing to note about Dark Knight Trilogy, kind of like I already said, was we've had a lot of revisiting the pool, revisiting the pond, bringing things back to life. And so we also saw the MMS DX01, the Joker police outfit here, where he's in the crowd, and you get actually a chance to see Heath Ledger's face without the makeup on, which I thought was kind of cool. It's a very quick scene within the Dark Knight, but this was part of that figure set. Now, this is well before my time. I started collecting around the time the DX11 came out, the Joker there. So, DX01 was way back now. I'd love to hear from anybody in the community who's watching, even on replay. If you guys have had this collectible, or do you still have it in the collection?
I don't think I've ever seen this in anyone's collection ever.
This is pretty cool, right? This is old school now. And worthy of looking at. But I think it's cool that you got both options with this DX01. So depending on the view, this is one of those buy two figures and have two displays out of it. I think was, worthy of noting here. So, sorry, my mouse is a little hard to navigate. We then moved into the DX11 Joker. So the DX11 is actually a Joker that I still have in my collection. And I'm excited because this week I'm getting the in-art rooted 2-pack. Spent a lot of money to get that Canadian-wise. I'm still having a hard time justifying it to myself because only about 2 years ago I spent $1,000 to get this Joker in my collection. And for the longest time, this was the definitive Joker to have, right? This was if you wanted a Heath Ledger in 1/6 scale, this was the guy. And I still honestly love this figure. One thing that I feel is lacking when it comes to the in-art offering is that neither of the two sculpts are laughing. And I loved the laughing sculpt when it came to the DX11. So, Marco, you just opened your in-art Joker 2-pack today. And you don't have to give too much spoilers away. If you guys want to see Marco's really deep dive take on that, check out his show from this afternoon. But what are your thoughts so far on the DX01, the DX11, and do you think essentially a 3.0 version from Hot Toys is on the way?
Yeah, I don't know that Hot Toys is going to counter with their own, reissue of this Joker, right? Because there are other versions they can go with. I've been, advocating for them to do an updated bank robber Joker. I think they've already done 2. But I think that would be a better response because it could be a nice companion piece to all the folks that went and got the in-art version and give everyone a reason to own another Joker if they don't have one. Say, this is different enough. Here's us iterating on what we've done in the past, but also it's different enough so you can put it alongside DX11 or this in-art Joker that you just bought. So I think that would probably be the way to go. And so I don't see them revisiting this particular release. And I don't think that this one is a dead figure either. I think there's enough quality items that you get with this, including that laughing sculpt, that make it a great release, that don't make it obsolete from what in-art has already done. So I think it's a terrific one, but I want to see Hot Toys counter in a different way if they do.
One thing I'm really excited about with my in-arts coming is that I've got this table and chair set up. Even right now, in behind me, I don't know if you can see it right here, I've got my DX11 Joker just sitting in the chair. Mm-hmm. But I think with the table, the interrogation scene, I'm happy I've got the DX11 to kind of spread those accessories out with it. I don't know if it's worth going back for, though, necessarily now with some of these offerings. I would love to see a Nurse Joker. come from Hot Toys potentially.
See, everyone says that, but do we really want a Nurse Joker? Like, is that
think
one
it'd be
that
funny.
everyone
Yeah.
wants in their collection?
I think it'd be cool.
Okay,
I would
guess.
100%
It's the one people have been
buy it.
asking for.
Yeah, I
I'd
guess
buy
so. I'm just like, do folks actually want that though? Because that's just like an oddly
It's also just
specific
one of the
scene.
only other options, right? I mean, he's not wearing many outfits in the film, so I think it's like if we don't want to see another purple coat Joker, then the Nurse offering is kind of the only.
Well, I'd say bank
available.
robber though, right? Like, do another bank robber.
Yeah.
I get they've done it before,
Fair.
so folks may be sick of that version as well. But I think that is the way to go.
But the Daft Toys company made a bank robber Joker outfit, which was very reasonably priced and kind of hit the sweet spot for a lot of collectors. I honestly don't know if Hot Toys could do it much better than that, so be curious to see.
I think Hot Toys could go for the exact look of when he pulls the mask off, and whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger. If they could nail that, then that would make collectors like, okay, I've got to have this version.
For sure. Toy Cartel says, I had it and regretted getting rid of the cop no makeup version. I mean, honestly, nobody has it anymore. At least anybody that I chat with, I don't know anybody that has this in their setup.
One thing that's interesting, I think like it may have been 2 years ago. It was a while. We've known this for a while. We did a March Madness tournament with all the Hot Toys that were, not all the Hot Toys, but like the ones that I think were the upper echelon of Hot Toys at the time. And we put them into 2 different brackets. And the finale, I want to say, came down to Hulkbuster versus DX11, and the DX11 won. So, I mean, this one has always been like super highly regarded by a lot of people. And, if it wasn't for the in-art one coming out, I think it still would be pretty highly regarded. I do think it does need a 3.0 version or a 4.0 version. I absolutely would not be surprised. Now the in-arts cards are on the table. If Hot Toys came and tried to like put all their manpower into like trying to best the in-art, I don't know that it would be possible. Hot Toys, I think they really struggle with rooting, so it would have to essentially compete with the sculpted in-art, but I would not be shocked, if by the end of this year we hadn't seen something.
I think if they don't give us a 3.0, they've missed an opportunity. I don't necessarily want the competition, but now that they've had a chance to even get an in-art one maybe in hand and see where they can still improve, as much as I'm excited for that in-art 2-pack, I don't know if it's still perfect. I think that there are still things that could be improved. And if Hot Toys does it and they can do it for less money, it'd be interesting to see where that goes. Let's get into the next version here. So we've got the Batman / Bruce Wayne figure. Now, of course, this is kind of the first night out Bruce Wayne here that we're seeing. This is something that a lot of collectors have wanted for a long time to be reissued, just like that first night out version. Now, obviously, we've seen a couple different options. John, the Everyday Collector here says, Nurse Joker, they would be nuts to do a 3.0. They would be, but again, if they can do it for even $500, right, half the cost of what we're seeing on the in-art version or the offering, they may do it.
Well, if it's a 1-pack, you'd be looking at like $250, $300, right? Because isn't the single pack Joker like,
if it's rooted, maybe 4, right? I mean, maybe a little higher.
Hot Toys really got to step the rooted game up though if they're going to compete at all.
Yeah,
go ahead, Zach.
Marco, what was the price of the single pack sculpted Joker?
Yeah, so $350 I think was
$350.
about
I
what
think
it was
Hot Toys
shipped.
could put forward a strong offering at $350, but they'd have to really justify that price because, I think their standard sculpts are coming in like at $240 to $280, so they'd really have to pull out all the stops to justify that price.
For sure. It's hard to say. I don't want them to make a 3.0 because if it ends up being anywhere close, if not better than what I've just paid for, I would be
upset,
devastated. So I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, they could do it. On the other hand, I'm like, I hope they don't. But this first night out Batman, I think is pretty cool. You can see how far Hot Toys has come when it comes to the sculpting. In terms of the Bruce Wayne head sculpt here, we are super critical nowadays of what head sculpts look like. But there was a time where this head sculpt was the pinnacle of Bruce Wayne head sculpts, which is interesting to see kind of retrospectively. We then get into the Batman 1/6 scale. So this was the first offering of the Batman Begins line. Now, it's kind of sad to see where this Batman Begins figure has gone, boys, because, of course, we recently got a 2.0 version of this character, and a lot of the challenges and issues that this character came with, or this figure in particular came with, were not corrected. So looking back at this, Marco, do you feel like the original Batman here, this 1.0, is still just as good, if not better, than the one we've got right now? Like, is there really any noticeable separation for reasons for why people should even buy the second one?
No, I think that second one was such a fumble. It's really disappointing, honestly, because I know a lot of folks were excited to get this version, and they left the door open for other companies, because it seems like DC has been a bit generous with their licensing compared to maybe Marvel or Star Wars, so the Disney family. So yeah, they left the door open for another company to come do this Batman better when they could have just made a definitive Batman Begins. And yeah, so the reissue didn't necessarily live up to the need to exist.
For sure. Zach, do you think, despite us recently getting a Batman Begins kind of 2.0, that a 3.0 is actually on the horizon with fixes, especially now that we've seen the DX19 recently, and then an Armory Batman that we're going to talk about later?
I think, before the Armory, no way. The new Armory, the clear one. I think afterwards, I would not be surprised, which is sad to say, because they had every opportunity with this and the DX19 to make a bang-on, like, definitive, DKR trilogy or Dark Knight trilogy Batman, and I think they dropped the ball on both, to be honest.
I would argue that DX19 is pretty strong, though.
It's strong,
Obviously,
but then it's like,
they're doing
3 months later, they're like, oh, well, remember the DX19 you just got? Well, it's actually not as good as we could have done.
It's been longer than that, but it feels like 3 months for sure.
Well, and I'll
give you that.
But I get that toy companies are in it to make money, right? That's so fair.
Of course.
But, like, at what cost? Because, like, to the folks who just got that DX19 in hand in April of 2022... now we've got this new option in April of 2023, literally 1 calendar year later. And now the figure you just got in your collection, you just proudly put it in your display, is now out of it's just not as good. It's just you've lost value on it, essentially. I could go online right now. Facebook online right now has a DX19 for $200 brand new in box. Right now, it's Canadian. That blows me away.
That's not a bad price for DX19.
It is a good price.
I'd take that.
Right? Yeah. It blows me away. And so when it comes back to this particular Batman, while this one needed some love, it hasn't got it on the 2.0. Are we going to see a 3.0 with the upgrades? I at this point wouldn't put it past Hot Toys to give us that, which would burn a lot of people, unfortunately, for everybody who just got this Batman Begins in hand, of course. Then let's move on to the MMS DX02. So this is, of course, the first iteration of the Dark Knight suit. So the upgraded suit from the Batman Begins suit. And honestly, I think that this was still a great offering. I remember the flexibility on this just wasn't quite there. A lot of folks who have had this figure have moved it on in favor of the DX12 that comes shortly after. Because the posability just got better. They improved some of the offering there. But to be honest with you, it's interesting. Now we were just talking about the DX19 and even the Armory Batman. So we're talking, like, when we're going kind of deep diving in the reissued chat here in terms of, like, how many offerings of the same suit is one company going to give us. We've got a lot so far. And it's all kind of the same suit. And even looking back at this super old version of the suit, it still looks pretty good in my opinion. While they've obviously made some pretty significant improvements, it still kind of looks the same to me. I like, how many times can you possibly revisit the well with one character? So Marco, I know, again, our buddy Shane had this one at some point, moved it on in favor of I think of the Armory version. What do you think of this original release? And do you think we're going to keep seeing the Dark Knight suit continuously get upgraded, even after we just get this newest clear Armory suit version?
Yeah, so I think you're right. It does still look really nice. Like, it still does hold up. Obviously, I haven't seen a ton of pictures of this version in hand, but So as you put it side by side to the DX19, okay, the comparisons become a little bit more obvious. But if this is what you had in your collection, it's a fine representation. So, to kind of challenge your point about, well, now a year later with the Armory version, we've got something that's like obsolete, and that is one way to look at it. But I think that the DX19 is so strong already, you don't need to feel like too shafted that there's a new version coming out. It is a bit of a bummer if you're really like a completionist or you need to have the latest and greatest, but I think that the Armory version is cool on its own. I don't really see a huge issue with them, doing that version because it is different enough and it is in a completely different premium set. But yeah, I think this one looks nice. Because it's Batman, I'm sure that we will continue to get iterations until the end of time, or at least Hot Toys' existence. And we already know InArt's going to do one, and really excited to see what they may do to push this suit forward. I'm okay with it, but I also want to see more characters from the trilogy, right? Like, we're getting a Bane 2.0, but give us a Scarecrow, give us a Ra's al Ghul. Like, we need some of these other characters. If they're going to continue to pump out these Batmen, at least fill in the gaps and give us the other ones, and just not peppered in here and there, because just having the Selena Kyle and the Bane 2.0 isn't necessarily enough for me.
That's fair. So you meaning like a Scarecrow 2.0? Because we have seen Scarecrow 1.0.
No. I mean, like a new version of Scarecrow, like they're doing with Bane. Version. Yeah, and I really want to see the version with the suit and is Cillian Murphy, is that his name? With that head sculpt, with the briefcase. I think they could make a really awesome release in that respect.
Well, and so it's interesting because for me with my DX12, this is actually the cowl set that I got for mine. So at the time when this came out, this was considered the definitive version of Batman in the Dark Knight, and it came with Alfred and the Bruce Wayne in a suit and the armory. This is kind of that 1.0 armory that we initially got, and it's beautiful. It's a really, really nice looking set. I love the mask or the cowl face that comes with this Batman. As I said, that's now the one that's on my DX12. And seeing the difference between this from the DX12 was a significant upgrade considering. Now we're going to look at the DX12 next, but this is one that I think is still a set that actually holds up really well and is different enough from the new Armory set that we got that you could technically have both. This one is a little bit shorter, but I think still very good in terms of a 1/6 scale offering. Alfred is something that I'm kind of wanting to still get in my collection, or somebody I'm still trying to get in my collection. I don't want to have to buy the whole set, but like I'd like to see an Alfred with the collection, right? But then of course we get into the DX12. So between the two here, what are your thoughts, Zach? Because these came out at a very similar time.
Just to clarify, the DX12, I want to say came out first, and then the Armory came out next and improved a bunch on the DX12. I think that up until the DX19, 100% agree. Like you said, the Armory version was the definitive Dark Knight for a long time. They had fixed some of the issues. What is his name? Clipper King had a real good video where he shows a lot of the differences between the DX12 and the improvements made in the Armory version. And the way that you could buy this was pretty neat, because I want to say there was at least like 2, maybe even 3 different ways you could buy it, where you could have the Armory and Bruce Wayne, or the Armory, Bruce Wayne, and Alfred. So they gave you some choices there. And, as far as accessories go, this may be one of the sets by Hot Toys that has the most
stacked
number of accessories. I mean, this thing is, literally jam-packed with accessories, and even to the point where it makes the new one feel empty, because this is just ridiculous how much stuff this one came with. But yeah, I think this was a great one, and like you said, Ben, in the movies, the Armory that just came out is a completely different. It's in a different area. It's a different Armory, so you could very easily justify having both in your collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob Dylan says a third party made the Armory with the suit, and there is a third party Kane Alfred that is pretty good as well. We'd be interested in seeing those for sure. And then Jordan Skinner says, so not the first time Armory version improved a Bale Batman figure. And absolutely the case. This is very similar to that, right? Again, the DX12, which is the version that I had, for a long time, this felt like this was going to be the definitive Batman. but then we saw that armory version, and I wish I'd shared it. I'll share it in my Instagram if anybody follows me there. It's an insane quality difference between this particular cowled mouth version and my DX12, to the point where the DX12 head sculpt has never seen the light of day since. It will be this one going forward. Now, I also did upgrade my cape from a Jackson Jew cape, which was absolutely worth it. That is actually something that I still criticize the DX19 for, that may or may not have been improved with the recent armory. We won't really know until I think we see some better in-hand photos of it. But yeah, the DX12 for its time was still really good. The DX12 was the first Batman figure I ever had in my collection from the Bale universe, and still technically is. And I remember when I first unboxed this bad boy back in the day, came with the black foam and everything, and it felt like super premium. I did not think there was a possibility that a toy of the Dark Knight would ever be any better. Like, this is it. It's amazing. And the fact that they continuously can still improve it is phenomenal. So, I mean, it's a cool, world that we live in now, only a decade later into collecting 6-scale than what we started with, for sure. Now, this is the DX19. So, again, you guys can see the stark contrast between even the DX12 versus the DX19. The head sculpt on the Bruce Wayne is significantly better. Now, I shouldn't say that. People say it's better. I actually still think the Christian Bale likeness here on the DX12 is better than the DX19 head sculpt. Tell me I'm wrong, Marco.
Yeah, I don't think that you're correct. I think this is an especially weak picture of that sculpt. And Fair. I think that the DX19, I think that sculpt ended up coming out killer. But I have not seen this one in person, so it's cool to know that you're still really satisfied with the version you have. But I think that this one is an improvement, but could be wrong if I saw them side by side.
For sure. And I haven't had the DX19 in hand. I think that's kind of the other thing, right? So the only thing I have to compare it to is what's in hand for myself. I have been meaning to make a Bruce Wayne figure out of that sculpt for a decade, and I still have not done so. So I've even considered looking at getting the Batman Begins, the kind of the ninja outfit that he trains in with Ra's al Ghul at the beginning of that film, and kind of creating that. Because I'd seen some third-party offerings of that. I think they were called the Ninja or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be cool to turn my head sculpt into. But the DX19 is now, of course, already considered kind of outdated, which is unfortunate because, like you said, it's a really good figure. You have the DX19 still, though, right, Marco?
Oh, heck yeah. It's front and center in my collection. He's going to be going right next to the in-art Joker, and I'm very happy with it. But I did also get the armory as well, so I'm excited that they can improve upon it. I think because of the sculpt, you could kind of justify having multiple, but we'll see what in-art does in the next few years with this release, because I do want a Bale Batman as well. Bruce Wayne as well. So I think I've thought about customizing, but I might as well wait to see if they do a Bruce Wayne.
100%. And even the, Bruce Wayne and Jim Shorts, while I don't think that that's necessarily my favorite version of the character, I still think it would be pretty cool. I don't have any figure in my collection that can cross their arms, and obviously you can't uncross them in that power pose style figure. But still, it would make for a unique pose within the collection, so that in itself I think is kind of neat. Next, we got the Scarecrow and the Batman Demon. Now, this is one that I had passed on back in the day, which I feel a little sad about, because I've watched, guys like Justin's Collection, do reviews on these guys and stuff, and they are pretty cool figures. Obviously, it's the Batman Begins suit that's demonized there, as well as the Crane figure. I would really like to see, kind of like you were saying earlier, Marco, a Jonathan Crane head sculpt. As well, have the ability to take off the mask, kind of like he does with Rachel, right, and be a little crazy.
Yeah, some of his best scenes are when he has his mask off. Honestly, do you want to see this mask? It's probably not going to be scary to a guy like you. That would be perfect to recreate.
And of the figures that have had reissues, you nailed it. These are ones that I actually think could benefit from a reissue at some point, assuming that they improved it. If they did it straight reissue, I wouldn't appreciate that. I'd want to see some level of improvement. Zach, I know like these figures for you aren't necessarily ones that have come to your collection, but do you feel like these could use a reissue, considering all of these other Batman lines are getting the reissues?
I don't know. I mean, the Scarecrow does play a big part in the trilogy. I know he appears in all three films. Obviously, he's the focal point of the first film. He appears briefly in the second, and then again in the third as the judge. Yeah, I think something like that would be better. The opening scene Scarecrow from the second film, or the judge Scarecrow from the third. I don't like, I think we have our ear to the ground pretty well. It's I don't see a lot of people looking for these characters, any of these three on screen. So I don't know that, unlike the Nurse Joker or the Bank Robber Joker, I don't know that there really is that big of a demand. I mean, I could be wrong, right? They could put this up and it could sell out in a day, but I don't know. Like, certainly not like the Joker or Bane, right? I think this one's kind of like the black sheep of the trilogy, even though I think he does have a really cool story arc, going through those three films.
I think collectors, though, in general, we're kind of notorious for not realizing what we want until it's on the screen in front of us. So, like, the Darth Sidious that we talked about in Let's Get Nuts earlier, nobody was asking for a Darth Sidious for the last couple of weeks. Every prediction video, every, what might we get on May 4th video that came up, nobody said, we want a Darth Sidious. And then we got it, and a lot of folks have been like, yay, I'm excited, I got a Darth Sidious now coming to my collection. Dopo, right? 100%. This is one of those releases that I feel like nobody's asking for, but as soon as one's available, people would definitely buy it. But John here in the chat, the Everyday Collector, makes a great point. So he says this 2-pack was an exclusive that would be a travesty to reissue it. And I can't disagree with that. Anytime an exclusive happens, obviously these are not numbered collections, right? But the word exclusive really connotes that we shouldn't see it again. Like, this should be it, right? And so I would feel for guys like John out there who, have maybe purchased this at some point and thinking that this is going to have long-term value, and then it loses it, right? Like, I got Superman from John recently. He'd never seen the light of day. I would not still be surprised if they end up re-releasing that figure here any day now, because that's just the way the company makes money.
Anything is fair game.
And just because it says exclusive doesn't necessarily seem to mean that it is, which is a shitty feeling when it comes to collecting. So I think at the end of the day, we shouldn't see these necessarily as exclusive as they claim to be. Buy them if you can. Buy them if they reissue them. Buy them if they keep them at the 1.0. But don't necessarily base your buying decisions on a word like exclusive, because at the end of the day, they're not numbered. They absolutely may reissue these and revisit the well.
And I'm totally fine if they want to keep the sanctity of that 2-pack and then do a 2.0 of just the Scarecrow or just the Nightmare Batman and release them separately, make them with larger improvements or different accessories than came with the originals, give them a reason to exist. I think that's what we're always preaching. If it's a straight reissue, it kind of bugs us. If it's a reason to revisit the character because you've improved significantly, then why not? It's a kind of a win-win for collectors and for the company.
Definitely. Next, we have the John Blake, Jim Gordon, and Bat Signal set. Now, kind of like you mentioned earlier, Zach, there's been a couple of these released versions. So in my local comic store, there's actually still a John Blake with just the Bat Signal available for about $500 Canadian that I've considered buying because I don't have them in my collection. Now, it is a little aged in terms of the figure. I'd be worried it wouldn't necessarily fit as well anymore. I actually think that this is a good candidate for a possibility of reissuing. John the Everyday Collector says, oh, but I have to leave now. We shouldn't see an exclusive as an exclusive. Blood pressure. Yes, but fair. As I said, we've been burned so many times that like you can't expect it to be any different, right? Kind of the only thing I want to think about there. But these guys in particular, I feel like both of these sculpts are a little on the soft side at this point. They have not aged as well as some figures have. I wouldn't be totally surprised if we saw these guys come back around, especially maybe on an anniversary of the film or something along those lines. We're already past the 10-year mark of The Dark Knight, but not necessarily the. Oh no, we've passed the 10-year mark of The Dark Knight Rises now. It came out in 2012. I don't know. Maybe we'll never get these guys reissued again. But what would you guys think? Would these be ones that you would want again?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Zach, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I've always wanted this John Blake with Bat Signal. I've shared this story a few times, but there was a local bookstore that was closing down, and they had carried Hot Toys, and I didn't pick it up, and I've always regretted that. Obviously, I sell my figures a lot, so it's not likely I would still have it, but yeah, that was always a set that I really liked. I think the police officer uniform is really good, and the Gordon SWAT, fantastic figure. Obviously, it's very scene specific, but definitely one of those ones that when it goes up, like, it usually goes pretty quick. So I think John unboxed that one on CW a long time ago, and yeah, that's a good looking figure even today.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like this John Blake with the Bat Signal. I know Equan sent me a listing where someone was selling it for $200 right now. So it's tempting, but you have to ask the question, is this like a need in your collection? I didn't necessarily love the characterization of Robin, or however they cheekily wanted to sneak that in there. I think the whole, like, oh, I could tell you were an orphan, but from the look in your eyes, and it's like, okay, that they lost me there. But I think that the sculpt and the suit design are all really cool. Obviously, he's an officer, like a Gotham PD officer, right? Is what he ultimately was. So that's a cool representation. I don't think I need that though. And the Bat Signal, I kind of want one from the Dark Knight, but I'm getting one from the Batman. So hopefully that'll just serve as an overall multi-purpose Bat Signal. But I think Commissioner Gordon is one that they should definitely, look into doing again. We don't necessarily need the SWAT version, but I think just the, standard with the coat could be really cool to stand next to your Batman. Since they're doing so many damn Bale Batmen, you might as well give us a Commissioner Gordon to go right alongside him. Or he starts off as... What's his title before the commissioner gets murdered in Dark Knight?
Spoiler alert.
Lieutenant Gordon.
Lieutenant
right?
Gordon. Yeah.
There you go. So that's probably why they just label him as Jim Gordon here. So yeah, I think that's one that they should revisit. And then the Bat Signal and the Jim Blake, they can probably leave those aside.
Sorry, did you say you'd want the version of Jim on the left or on the right, like the
I think on the left. I think just the commissioner or the long coat version. I don't think I need the SWAT, even though that's a legendary scene. I don't think I need that version.
Such a good scene. I've actually seen some people, I think it might have been Doc Smizzle, if I'm not mistaken, took some photos of his in-art Joker kick-flipping Batman on the ground. I might be wrong, but I've seen a picture floating around.
It's from like
there.
a behind-the-scenes photo.
I'm like, that is cool.
Jordan says, cool. I don't believe there's a point to exclusives in figure collecting. They are not baseball, basketball, or football cards. Jordan, I would say, what makes the cards different? I'm curious your point on that, if you could let us know.
I've always wished that Hot Toys would be numbered, honestly. Even from my beginning stages of collecting, I think it could have been cool to have numbered collections, and if they were going to do reissues, have them subtly different, give them collectability in their own right, but still maintain the value of those originals. If you're a completionist collector, you should be able to get the version 1.0 and 2.0 and still feel like you got your money's worth for both, right? When they're not numbered, when they're not limited or truly exclusive, they start to lose that collectability to an extent. I still collect the shit out of them, but only because I'm just a huge nerd, and I will always collect figures that look cool based on the stuff that I love nostalgia-wise. Now, this is one that we've seen a 1.0 and a 2.0 of. This is the 1.0 version. And honestly, it doesn't look to me like they've changed her a lot. This is a good kind of like 1.5, almost 2.0. The 2.0 version does come with a different backdrop from the scene, of course, with Bane under the city. But honestly, otherwise, other than the coloration of the photo, they look very similar to me. I can't really distinguish much of a difference. So I feel like the 2.0 version here is really just an opportunity for collectors to rebuy this version if they missed it the first time around. Now, the big question I'll have, is what is the suit made of for this? Because the 1.0 peeled like crazy for most folks. I saw one guy, he had to take like a men's face razor and like shave the leather off of the outfit, which made it look like silky kind of outfit.
Yeah.
Or like,
I've
but
seen that
totally
photo.
took the pleather right off of it. What do you guys think of the Catwoman 1.0, 2.0? Is it a 1.5.0? Like, what are we even considering this at this point?
1.5.0. It's almost just a reissue straight up.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't like this figure at all though. I think that they should have gone with the sculpted hair, because that's kind of what they've been doing on more and more releases. Because I don't like the way it looks. It doesn't look natural to me. Something about the body and the face expression and the rooted hair just all don't work for me, which is a bummer because I do like Anne Hathaway. But yeah, not a huge fan of this one. How about you, Zach?
I think you're 100% right. I think the fabric matters. I do recall seeing the photo that Ben's talking about. I've also seen that same issue happen with the Affleck Batman, the BVS one, where people are having to peel off the texture. So definitely. To Tony's point, I thought Hot Toys were numbered. They're numbered in terms of a sequential, MMS, TMS, DX, whatever. What Ben's referring to by them being numbered is if you look at statues on the box and on the bottom of the statue itself, it'll say like, this is unit 700 of 3000, right? So that means that there's 3000 made, maybe some artist proofs in addition, but Hot Toys they're not necessarily open runs. They do have a finite endpoint where they stop making them, but because they're not numbered, it's hard for us collectors to really know, like, is there 10,000? Am I one of 10,000 people that own one of 1,000 people? And now that the game has kind of changed a bit over the past few years with ordering, it seems like they're making less, but there's no real way for us to tell for sure.
Yeah, like if there was only ever 300 made of the original 1.0 Catwoman, even though they've given us a second version with different accessories, that 1.0 would still have some value because there's only 300, call it, worldwide. It creates that collectability within the collectible, as opposed to just being like, well, I can just wait for the next one then because they're going to improve it like they've done with Batman. But moving on, we do get a chance to see the Harvey Dent here as well. Now, we've got the 1.0 version on the left and the 2.0 version on the right. I've got the 2.0 version sitting up in the closet here behind me, or in the cabinet behind me. And I love the figure. Despite it being a 2019 Toy Fair exclusive, it was available for a really long time.
It really was.
A really long time.
I feel like it just sold out the other day, honestly. That's how it feels.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again. In fact, there was a third-party company. I was in Vegas at the time when I was watching you guys talk about it. And it made me laugh because Dean was talking about the fact that it came with clearly a very much like reissued version of this head sculpt on the right-hand side, but with a clean suit, like an unburned suit. And Dean said something along the lines of, well, like, that's just his day 2 suit. Like, he's been Two-Face for 2 days, so he doesn't not every suit he has is burned directly in half. I was like, that's amazing. Fair. I like my 2.0, but I gotta say, even for a 2019 release, the paint apps are a little soft. I've seen some people actually improve some of the paint around like the burned sections of the face, and it looks like way better than the stock out of box option. But I also know that John, speaking of John, the Everyday Collector, he had the 1.0 version that he unboxed on Collecting Weekly, a couple months back, and he liked the 1.0. In fact, some people have said that the burning on the skin of the 1.0 may actually be better than the 2.0. What do you guys think of this one?
Yeah, I kind of want them to give us a 3.0 of the 1.0, if that makes any sense. Give us the Harvey Dent sculpt. Give us a normal jacket, so we could just have a normal Harvey Dent DA look. That'd be kind of cool to have in the collection, just a straight civilian. Shout out 1/6 focus, but then also switch him over to Two-Face if we want to. I feel like that would be kind of a fun one that I would honestly go after. So yeah, I thought about this 2.0 for a long time, just never could pull the trigger because the fitting of the suit just looked a little bit weak to me. But how about you, Zach? One you ever consider?
No, neither of these. I like Aaron Eckhart, but no, I don't think so. Jordan says, I believe in sports cards. Sports collectibles are an investment. Then down the line, you sell them to make money. I just don't feel that way towards figures. That's fine if people like the exclusivity. Yeah, but part of why sports cards are worth money is it's kind of like comics, right? Like you'll have a first appearance of a character, or in cards, the comparable thing would be like a rookie card, or like a limited. The new cards now, they have like 1 in 50 or like 1 in 10. And that's what makes those worth a lot of money, right? The low amount of them, and sort of the promise that they won't be another rookie card that comes out or another run of that 1 in 50. And so in a way, I think that's where people that like exclusivity for the figures feel they should also have that same protection. So I think I know you said you don't like it with figures, and you do believe it's fine with baseball cards, but that's kind of what a lot of people are arguing, right? That it should be like other collection stuff, like comics and cards, where being old should have some value. So that's just my thought on it. We can agree to disagree.
It's tough because comics and cards, obviously the tech has evolved significantly over time, but like in between a few years, I don't know, the technology evolves that crazy to where a card that's from 2015 is that much more crazy than one from 2023. Whereas figures,
well, it depends.
Like that tech has evolved. Maybe
a rookie card from 2015 versus like a season 7 card of a player, like the rookie card's going to be worth a lot more. But you're right, figures are evolving much. Yeah, I mean, the cards at the end of the day are paper, right? You know, cardboard paper, whatever. There are some fancy prism cards or whatever, but I don't know that it's interesting because the figures, it's a technology thing or like a quality of the art. With the cards, like, you know, for 100 years they've been, you know, printed paper, you know, essentially, right? The text hasn't gotten any clearer. The photos on the cards probably a little bit better, but that's just cameras getting better also. So it's real interesting. That might need a longer discussion because
no doubt
they're valuable for completely different reasons. Well, let's stream it along today. And it's almost like comics, right? Like the old, there's some characters that as a comic collector or someone that wants to be a completionist, I don't even touch, right? Spider-Man stuff, like to get some key Spider-Man books, like I'm talking like older keys. I mean, that's like house money to get some of these comics, right? You know, even fairly modern 1980s 9.2 keys, you know, $350, like, you know, it's like Hot Toys right there. So it is different. I think it just depends on like what people value in those hobbies. And I think in our hobby we value the art a lot more, and that's why, you know, even though this Harvey Dent on the left may be older and quote unquote more rare, it doesn't have that same demand. Well, maybe that's a bad example because this one didn't have a lot of demand for a long time, but when the new one came out, that original one lost value because everyone was quick to say, hey, I want the second better version. So it's different. It is different.
For sure. Mojo Z78 says, revisiting this trilogy is in direct response to the Joker 2-pack, or am I just crazy for thinking this? I don't think you're necessarily crazy, but I think there are certain lines that will just sell no matter what. And I think toy companies have got their you know, thumb on the pulse of that, right? They know the Dark Knight trilogy worldwide is very popular and will always sell. And anytime you give somebody an update, they'll buy in. Same with Iron Man, and same with lots of other offerings just out there. So I think it could definitely be a bit of a response, but I think either way we would have seen them eventually. And King Dinglin says, are you thinking years down the road we'll see a third run of these if Hot Toys is still around? I would say absolutely. Same reason. It prints money for them. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw multiple more iterations of even the Iron Man suits that we've already seen. We've already seen that. That's part of our reissue show that we looked at not that long ago of different Iron Man suits that have come to fruition. If they print money, we'll see them again. They did not number these on purpose, I think, for a very good reason, and that is to make sure people keep buying. If these were one and dones, eventually Hot Toys would suffocate itself because the cost of production would outweigh the money that they're able to guarantee that they're able to bring in. Giving, you know, these out of the box figures that we're seeing from things like Mars Toys. Mars Toys is in a really good sweet spot right now because they're kind of filling in some of the gaps that Hot Toys hasn't taken advantage of. So they're staying relatively relevant, but there's still a lot of risk factor in there of offering figures that people may or may never buy. And there's a lot of cost of production just to get into the point of solicitation that it's a tough nut. If you are trying to make money as a company, there's a good chance you will lose if people don't buy what you're going for. So of course they're going to revisit the well, I think, many times going forward in life. And people keep getting older. People are still experiencing the Dark Knight for the first time and wanting to go out and buy these figures, right? Like, that's the way she goes. It is crazy to think. There's a whole generation of people who may have never even seen these films yet. So let's move on because we're wrapping up here within about 15 minutes, guys. So we got the Bane 1.0 as well as the Bane 2.0. This is the Bane 1.0 on both slides, and then the Bane 2.0 that we've been recently solicited. I've got the Bane 1.0 behind me here, and I absolutely love it. Now, I got it for $100. I got it loose. It didn't come with many of the accessories. It came with 2 closed fists. Jacket was in great condition. One of the biggest challenges with the original 1.0 was that it could stain the arms. The brown of the jacket was staining the arms. I think that happened to Big Bretta's figure. Or the pleather on the jacket may have been flaking. Thankfully, neither of those issues hit my figure. And in terms of scaling, this guy still scales really well with some of the original releases like my DX12 Batman and my DX11 Joker. But we also know that the Dark Knight line wasn't necessarily very well scaled originally, and now we're seeing these figures grow in size. The DX19 is significantly bigger than the DX12. The Bane 2.0 is like significantly larger, it would seem, than the 1.0, which makes me more interested in buying it. I think once I see what the Joker from InArt looks like next to my Batman, that will be kind of the key for me as to whether I sell my DX11 and my DX12 and move on to some of these other releases, just to have them scale more appropriately. But what do you think, Marco, of these two offerings? I know you just recently got a 1.0 Bane in hand, and honestly, I love the 1.0. What are your thoughts of them in your collection, and would you now want to buy the second one still?
Yeah, no, I thought he was really sweet, honestly. So this one did come with the coat, but the coat was flaked to shit, so that's not an option. So basically just the beginning of the flight option was all that you could really do. But I still think that that's enough. Like, I think that that's still a really strong figure. All the accessories, the tailoring. Now, the body is small when you take everything off, right? But that's an issue that Hot Toys still experiences with releases as of today, right? Like that Darth Maul looks terrible once you... So I think they need to stop that. Yeah, right, the cable. Like, they want to give us multiple looks, but kind of just stick to one, please. Because if you're not going to do them all really well, then don't do them at all. And so I think as long as you've got some covering on this Bane, he still looks really, really nice. I'm really excited for the 2.0 though. So I think that you could almost justify having multiple Banes because of those different looks. So for me, I think that's the avenue to go down. But the more that I see how nice this Bane looks, the more I think this 2.0 might be extremely oversized. Like, they may have made him way too hulking, which I'm fine with. I think he's going to look cool at the end of the day. So yeah, really excited to pick that one up, even though I've got this version. So I see Zach has camera off now, so I'll kick it back to you, Ben.
He's just trying to eat his dinner,
That's right.
Sorry, poor guy.
No, you're good.
Well, to be fair, it was a 30-minute.
I'm hungry.
We were delayed 30 minutes from where we were supposed to start, so that's not my fault.
People.
That's what happens when you get a double nut. Sometimes you need a little rest in between.
I'm the easy scapegoat this weekend. So
how are you gonna be late to 2 shows in a row?
Oh man, that might have been 3 if you count LWO. So
wow. There you go. Sorry. I think this is a decent improvement, but I think going back to the Bane, I think the scale, I think they're getting a bit ambitious with the scale. I don't hate the first version, to be honest, and I may honestly I like the actor's name is escaping me. I like the actor Tom Hardy. Thank you. I love Tom Hardy. If the first version gets cheap enough, I may have to pick it up, to be honest. I actually don't mind not getting the premium one. So yeah,
I don't think I'd want to necessarily display him without the jacket. I love the look of him with the jacket on. So,
Yeah.
And I see some folks in the chat here saying, so Toy Cartel says, I let this Bane go for the M-Toys version. And there was a big ask for this guy to be updated, right? Like, there for a long time, this guy felt a little underscaled. Even next to the DX12 Batman, he's not really that much bigger. Now, it's interesting because Christian Bale, the actor himself, is actually a significantly bigger dude, tall-wise, height-wise, size-wise, than Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's a pretty small guy. It's just camera tricks, right, when it comes to The Dark Knight. But I do think this will ultimately end up being the definitive edition for this character. So it remains to be seen. Now, will we see a 3.0 of this guy in the future? It is hard to say, but if we're keeping track here, we've seen like countless versions of Batman. We've seen countless versions of the Joker, at least initially, from Hot Toys. We've now seen multiple Catwomans. We've now seen multiple Banes. We're waiting to see maybe more Scarecrows. We need to see at least one Ra's al Ghul that we haven't got yet. But I would not be surprised if we saw a 3.0 Joker, because like it seems like it's next. It logically it seems like it should be next.
It's inevitable.
Exactly. And it's funny, SpongeBob Squareballs is in the chat. Thomas, good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining in. He says, kind of reiterates the same thing I was just saying. Funny thing is, Tommy Hardy is a very beefy guy, but he's not very tall. The character in the comics was very imposing height. And absolutely, in the comics especially, the Nightfall series, if you're interested in reading a really good anthology book, look for volume 1, 2, and 3 of Nightfall, Batman. It's the story of Batman having his back broken by Bane, and then kind of what happens, who he gets to help him hold the mantle of that bat while he heals, and kind of the story around Bane. It's a great read.
And Bane's
you
a
get
Latin
them in
too,
anthologies.
so.
And he is Latin. Absolutely. He's a very, very classic. So, lastly here, so we are looking at the Tumbler. The camo version, as well as the black version. I'll take it in black version. And then since this 1.0 version, we've also then got a reissue 2.0 version of the Batmobile. Now, it's interesting with the recent solicitation of the Armory set, the Armory 2.0 set. They actually solicited that with a Batman next to a Tumbler. Now, even though it's not necessarily canon to the film, because in The Dark Knight Rises, the Batmobile here, or the Tumbler, was already destroyed. What wasn't destroyed was a camo Tumbler. So I'd be curious to see, do you guys think, in terms of, again, like we're going back to Hot Toys is in it to make money, would you be surprised to see a 2.0 Tumbler that's in camo going forward? Or do you think that they're going to stick to the black Tumbler line at this point?
No way. The
You don't think they'll
Tumbler,
see a
they
camo?
have so much trouble selling the Tumbler. There is
Sure.
absolutely no way on God's green earth they're going to produce a second
It's
batch
Hot Toys,
with the
Zach.
camo.
Don't say no way. But
Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I would be shocked. I mean, there's been, Marco, what's the cheapest price you've seen for the Tumbler, the 2.0?
Oh,
what, like
boy.
$430?
I think- yeah, like
Something like that.
four something, mid fours for
There's
sure.
bro, they're like struggling to get rid of this stuff. I don't know. I can't see it. I can't
Zach,
see
so initially I was going to say the same thing, like, oh, like they can't even like move the inventory they have now. That being
Yeah.
said, because this Bane is coming, I could see them like, as it comes closer to
Sneaky.
release, like all of a sudden they're going to, put out this Tumbler, like, oh, the issue with it was that it wasn't camo. I could just see it happening. I think that they're starting to shy away from these larger vehicles, perhaps, given the the
Especially
troubles
with
they had with the DeLorean.
Yeah.
The DeLorean might have soured them on the whole vehicle experience. So yeah, unless they've got like a path on how to make these things a bit more sturdy, they could never touch these again. So I'm gonna say no, but I wouldn't be shocked only because it's Hot Toys.
Well, and Bob Dylan makes a good point. He says they might do a camo Tumbler since they are making a new Bane, and again, that would be canon with a third film. I could kind of see it. I could see it. They've already really got the mold. It's just a different paint job, right? In fact, they may be able to take some of the ones that they've already made and just take them out
Call
of the
them
box
back.
and repaint
I
them
feel like
and
they've
put them
done
back
that
in a
before.
box. Right, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Get it out. Get it
The only
out.
thing is the Tumbler. Can you go to the gray photo or the camo photo? In the movie, I don't think they're the same, because doesn't the camo Tumbler have the missile launcher on the back? But I think Hot Toys, I don't
There are a
think it
couple
has
different
that, right?
versions. I think there's 3 different versions of the
I
tumbler
see.
that we
Okay.
actually see in
Okay.
that film.
I may have misspoke.
So technically, it could still be correct, I think.
I mean,
based
it
on
looks fucking awesome. I mean, let's be real. It does look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking that away from it. I just, I can't see it. I just really can't see it.
I've seen people call this the chocolate chip tumbler. I can also see that.
I like that.
Chocolate chip.
I like
Yeah.
chocolate chips.
Dang, now I want some chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
Last slide on the docket, certainly last but not least, the 1.0 Bat Pod released back in 2008 versus the Bat Pod recently released here, I think within 2021, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this is, to me, a separation of just better photo quality, better lighting. There are some improvements that you can see on the bike. Obviously, on the 1.0, there's quite a bit of silver accents, whereas on the 2.0, there's a lot more in the way of black. From my recollection, at least in terms of my mind's eye, the newest version, the 2.0, certainly takes the cake. I'd be surprised if we saw a 3.0 of this ever again, only because, even still, like you guys were saying about the Tumbler, the Batpod is still sitting in a lot of comic shops, even just locally for me, let alone on websites. So I feel like they had a harder time selling it than they maybe anticipated they would. I would be surprised if we saw a 3.0. And kind of like you hit on already, Marco, with regards to the DeLorean, like, should Hot Toys even consider continuing to make vehicles, or should they let that mantle go to somebody else and focus on what they're good at? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see another one of these Bat Pods. Again, same argument though, because it shows up in Dark Knight Rises, you could just be like, all right, well, and I get this one is branded Dark Knight Rises already anyways. So they could, think that there's demand for the additional figures that they're releasing from the trilogy. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is probably where this is going to lie, because they just can't move these. It's just it's an awkward size and kind of an awkward space to take up.
Also, I don't feel like they improved that much on this one. I know a big complaint was how fragile the first one was, and pretty much everyone I know that has a second one, pretty much says the same thing, right? So I don't know that they really improved greatly on the design. It does look good, but I don't know. I think they could have used different materials, perhaps. I think that was it for Ben slides. I just want to bring this up quickly, just so we can put an end cap on it. But this is the most current Batman figure that we have. It's the Armory with Bruce Wayne. They introduced a Power Pose style figure. And supposedly, this we'll be getting more updates on this, because in the photos, there is a different coming soon masked likeness. So we'll probably have an update on this at some point. And again, it does improve over the DX19. On the right there is the DX19. On the left is the MMS 702. So, definitely a bit more angular, supposedly taking better cues from the physical prop. But I don't know. I know we kind of joked earlier, but it was almost exactly a year, perhaps a little bit longer. But I still feel like that's too soon.
It was literally April to April. Came out in April.
Yeah, April to
2022.
April. Yeah,
April
when we had gotten those
2023.
dates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ben, excellent work on the deep dive there on the DX19 or DX19. Jesus, the Dark Knight. It's been a long day. The Dark Knight stuff. So
It really has. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah, been a long
Very
weekend.
passionate about them. They're some of my favorite collection. I know you guys can't see them as well, but it's all my Dark Knight figures up here. And I've got room for the InArt 2-pack in between there, which is cool. And then it's going to be a whole DC cabinet in behind me here at some point. So
The display's
slowly
looking
working on
incredible,
it. Thanks, man. Appreciate
There
it.
you go.
So,
Some Zach's Wonderland stands, baby.
so stay
for your
tuned.
small
I've
figures.
got my caricatures of Batman and the Joker. I don't know if you guys can see them, as well as Bane here on the wall.
Awesome.
It's my DC room. This is going to be the DC room. Out there is going to be Marvel and Star Wars. So stay tuned for a collection tour on the Ben Thomas Show 2.0. The last one I did was 9 months ago, and the setup has changed actually quite a lot. So I'm excited to share that with you guys.
There you go. Do you guys have anything you want to plug for your channels?
I would just say really quickly, if you have not, go watch Ben Thomas Let's Get Nuts. Go watch the unboxing that I did earlier of the Joker. Go watch Bargain Bin Bros on 16 Fix as well. And check us out on Collecting Weekly this week. How about you, Ben?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, all of those things. We had a really fun chat today on Let's Get Nuts. Add it as a playlist to your to you guys, if you're just catching this now, it's so fun. We have different panelists every week on today. Marco, Zach, and Pete from OFAC are on. Great chat. But every week has been different and exciting, and we will continue to have new panelists every Sunday kind of moving forward there. If anybody is ever out there interested in joining, I know Bob Dylan has done the occasional live stream as well. Absolutely always welcome to join the show. And then, yeah, I'm excited. I'm honestly going to eat dinner and watch your unboxing of the Rooted 2-pack In-Art Joker, and I'm hoping that you're just as happy as I hope you are, because I'm like all stressed out. I'm all stressed.
Oh boy! All right. Well, maybe I won't give you all the reassurances, but it's a nice
That's
package. So no, appreciate you watching that, man.
There you go.
Great job on the slides.
Yeah, great job. Last thing I'll shout out, this Saturday coming up, the 13th, Dungeons & Dragons returns for Season 2. What's called the Live and Let Dice Calamity, so that'll be very fun. So if you're into Dungeons & Dragons, or you just want to, kind of see what that might be about, it is a new campaign, so you don't necessarily need to understand everything that happened in our previous year-long campaign. It'll be a nice starting point for new people jumping in to be introduced to our characters. And thank you guys, everyone, for watching. It was our first time doing a triple stream on 3 different channels. I think it worked out pretty well.
I like
a triple nut. There you go. There you go. Perfect. But anyways, I'm Zach.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Marco.
We'll catch you on the next episode.
See you guys.